On.
Check. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, I'm Timo.
Hi. And I'm Andrew. We're from the Spatial Media Lab. We're a Berlin-based Verein. And as soon as our projection's on the screen, we can get started.
Yeah.
Great. So today we're going to talk to you a bit about 3 points. The conception, how did we get here? What are we doing? The construction, how do we actually fulfill the vision that we have for our project? And the community, how can you get involved in what we're up to? So first point is conception. So this started with Timo and I meeting in 2017. I was here right after graduating from Berkeley to just explore the city and see where I wanted to move to in Europe. And Timo and I met at Tech Open Air 2017 and just immediately connected over how many demonstrations for spatial audio are not so good. And we wanted to do something to change that. So we started it as a Stammtisch, and then I moved back to the Bay Area to get prepared to ultimately move here. And we kept in touch the whole time. And then in 2018...
we started actually doing our first real project. We were invited from the planetarium at Prenzlauer Allee, and they actually have a full dome with 50 speakers and a huge 6K projection system, and they were trying to find ways to open that up. And we, through a good connection with Georgios, one of the guys there who helped us get in there, did a show.
And we considered that basically a proof of concept because we got a lot of rave reviews from this. People really responded positively, and we said, okay, we have something here. We need to make this more real. So we said, let's actually craft a vision and write that down and put it on a website and promote it on social media and start actually holding some meetups, have a space to get people to come together. And so we found a problem that we wanted to address and why we think this results in many different these demonstrations that I mentioned previously being maybe not so great, right? Is that we have scientists who are working in a lab somewhere or with just maths, like completely purely theoretical, and they're coming up with new ideas, new algorithms, what have you, and finding solutions to problems. And then eventually the engineers understand the concept enough to be able to make something that makes this theory usable. And then at the very end of this, the artist gets it. So it's already filtered through a few different people before it gets to the artist. And maybe the artist doesn't actually understand the science behind it, or even the engineering behind it. And so maybe is misusing it or not using it as intended. Not that that's a bad thing. Sometimes it can come out good, but sometimes not. So we saw this as a problem because there's just a one-way street and the artist is at the very end of it. So we found that the solution was to make a hub. And this is why we designed our logo this way, that we want to make a location, a space, hold a space where all these different types and communities of people can come together, artists, engineers, developers, scientists, educators, students, and of course, ultimately the audiences. And we wanted to make a space for everyone to be able to come together.
Yeah, and in this space, like it's a space as a concept. So the space is, of course, where does the community meet? Online these days, very international, but we wanted to also create these opportunities in a really pragmatic way offline. So what we are doing is we have now a lab, we will see more about that later, where we can invite people and show people, host workshops. And we also are working with venues, with artists that are doing concerts, shows, like in an actual way to be able to see or create better experiences that are lacking kind of technology or the knowledge to it.
So this led to our mission statement, which Harshini already read, but now maybe it's a bit more clear, right? We want to make all of this easier to access. We want to make it so that spatial media and immersive media can be ultimately better for everybody, both for the artists that are making it, also for the engineers who are trying to take this science and turn it into something that can be used by artists, and also for the audiences to actually come in and say, wow, that was really moving, that changed something in me. You know, it was very compelling. And we feel that by building these bridges between the different communities, this is the best way to do it. And ultimately, we're working for the community. So everything that we make, we want to make it available to everybody in the community. So open source is very important to us. So this leads to construction. How did we actually fulfill this vision? How do we actively fulfill this vision?
Yeah, there's our timeline, kind of. We touched a few of these points, but it all started, like Andrew said, with a contentious consent, because this was really the first time where the ideas we had and the concepts we had, like we put them on the show and saw that, okay, this is actually working. Then later we did our first own show. We created a head tracker that's open hardware, and 2022 we had another concert also in the planetarium, and 23 we also did a concert with Discovery Zone, and we founded our Verein.
So we'll show just a couple of quick images from the different experiences that we did. So again, this was the contentious concert, Constance concert, it's a lot of C's, in the planetarium, and a photographer that was there, Michael, made a wonderful GIF of what was going on. Next was Spheria, which was our own concert that we were able to produce at the planetarium with Jan Wagner and Tobias Preissig. And as Timo mentioned, we have a head tracker. This is for use with spatial audio. We can talk about that more in depth afterward. If you want to meet with us, we will give a short presentation of some of the material that we have, some of the music in the spatial audio space in room D. And we have the head tracker with us, so you can use this to track your head movement to get a better spatialization in headphones. This is the Carolina concert. Unfortunately, we don't have any like really nice press-looking photos from this one. And Discovery Zone, which was just last year. And our celebratory Gründungsversammlung. And at the end of the year in October, we were here in this exact same space in Altamünze in room D, where we set up an installation. First time with a nice group of visual artists working with us directly as part of the Verein for Reclaim Wonder. And we have a headquarters now. So here's just a very, very sped up video of this space. We're still constructing it right now, so this is before we even had done any construction. And once it's finished, which we're hoping in the next month or two, it'll be completed, then we can make a new video that looks much nicer. But we have 200 quadrometers, so you can see really the scope of the space, albeit very fast. And ultimately, it will result in 5 rooms. And those rooms are, we will have a Atmos Ambisonic studio, a 5.1 studio, a meeting room / co-working space, a workshop where you can use soldering irons, 3D printers, what have you, and a multi-use room for video production and also streaming, recordings, what have you. So this leads us to the community. This is, again, what we're doing this for. So how can you get involved? Well, first, we always get this question.
Yeah, why a Verein? And this is important for us because we see everyone talks about community. We have big businesses that are selling communities and like, yeah, it's our community, we have the best, whatever, come around, pay, and yeah, give us revenue. But for us, it was really important to create a structure that's a legal structure, but that is not owned, that does not generate any profits. Does that mean we're charging no money? No, because obviously you also need to run this thing, but it's fully transparent. In this spirit of open source. Like we all our finances, it's all open. You can see it, and there's not a single person who owns anything. Like it's a democratic structure. I mean, in Germany, a lot of people know, but also when we talked a lot about it, it was interesting because Andrew, coming from the States, for him the concept was so weird. Like, why would I have a business? Yeah, it's not a business. Yeah, okay, but why would I have something where people just come in and work for free? But like ultimately, that was when I realized that this concept is actually pretty not crazy, but it's cool and it's kind of unique to Germany. Like you can see that in other countries as well, but here it's really deeply enrooted in society. And for us, this was really, when we talk about community, you have to talk about ownership and stakeholding and all that stuff. So for us, it's if you engage in this community, then the stuff is owned by the community. Like in this whole open source world, like I'm contributing stuff to something that then can be used by anyone else. And this is why this whole community concept goes really well together with the open source concept, that for us it's also really important. So all we do is open. Open as in openly accessible, like not as in free, yeah, free software. It's a pretty similar discussion. And the other thing is, like, because we don't need to create profits, we can focus on creativity. So we can focus on the stuff that we are interested in. We don't need to run a business, so we don't need to do stuff that we don't like or we don't want to do. Obviously, this also makes it harder to fund it sometimes because, having projects to put in money is, you cannot take on everything. But this is also where we rely on this community thing. So a lot of people coming together and creating this thing.
And we also learned that until recently, maybe a couple years ago, CTM Festival, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, is also a non-gemeinnützige Verein and was running purely on project-based funding. And so it's entirely possible to do something that is very important culturally and has a large movement and is very powerful and makes moving experiences for people and is able to explore experimental things and what have you, but still be in this Verein structure. So we feel that it's the right fit for us. So now what? What do you do next, right? Now that you know what this is and we have this thing established, what's next? Well, get involved. This is something that's open for the community, and so this is a bit of a call to action for anybody that's interested in spatial media and wants to participate. If you're simply curious and you like what you've heard so far, and maybe afterwards when we give this audio presentation in the back room, you're really intrigued, well, easiest way is just join our monthly meetup. We have a meetup every month, and we promote it through our newsletter and our website and Instagram, so it's not hard to find. And now that we have our own space, we're going to be hosting it more often in our own space rather than just random bars here and there and wherever we can find a studio that's free. And next is, if you want to actually contribute toward these projects, contributing time or skills, you can become a member. There's also some benefits that come along with that, but you can read that on the website. And lastly, if you are part of an organization that is for profit, and you nonetheless believe what we're doing and believe in what we have here and what we've showcased and want to support us, you can also become a Fördermitglied and simply just help us keep the operations running. So in terms of directly what's up next, as Harshini mentioned, tomorrow I will be hosting a masterclass on composing ambisonic soundscapes with Ross Alexander in the same room, room D, where we will give this presentation right after this, and that's between 11 and 2. If there are tickets left, I don't know. There's 2 spots left, so get clicking if you're interested, if you don't have a ticket yet. The next one is I'll be hosting also a workshop at our space, which is an intro to spatial audio. This is going to cover the gamut. It's not just ambisonics. It's like, what is spatial audio? What are the different areas in using it? What are the different tools for the different purposes and what have you? And as mentioned with the meetups, if you're just curious, you want to come check it out a little bit more, check out our space as well. We're going to be hosting a meetup at our space in Weissensee on Thursday, the 14th of March at 7 p.m. And again, you can find this information on our Instagram when it's published. So thank you so much for your time. There's some QR codes for you if you want to follow along. And we'll be here to answer any questions. And like I said, after that, we'll show you some sounds.